Welcome back, Lions fans. It's been a while since we saw you last. Took a little bit of much needed TLC during that 4th of July break. Just take some time, and the news was relatively slow for the Lions as well, so it just felt like a good time to take a break.
We were celebrating maximum freedom.
Exactly. Yep. So this week, though, I mean, that means we've got about 2 weeks full of news to share with you guys, and some big stuff has been happening all around Lions news and Detroit news in general. Um, of course, we'll start, by addressing our hard-hitting questions in our quick hits segment. And as you guys know, that's where we pull questions that are surrounding the Lions that have been circulating through social media or just the national media in general, and just address them and give our thoughts on what we think the answer to those questions are.
Yep. And then we have some interesting works from the Lions beat writers around the area in our main event. We will let you guys know what we think about those. And we also have a certain receiver who is now a star on and off the field. So we'll see how that goes. Someone hit the red carpet.
Then we always end our show with our That Was Random segment, where we're going to, take a look at some of the other happenings going on, whether it be in the league, out of the league. This week we even have some pop culture news for you. So we're
Mm-hmm.
going to be diversifying, but we'll little bit of a sneak peek there. We'll take a look at kind of Tarik Skubal for the Tigers and his situation, and whether or not the Tigers would be smart to trade him at the deadline.
Yeah, and as always, this show is brought to you by the one and the only Empire Contractors out of Shelby, Michigan. Empire Contractors is a full service roofing company that specializes in liquid applied roof restoration. If you or someone you know needs a commercial roof, definitely check them out, roofsbyempire.com or on Facebook, and we'll give you a little more on that a little later. So let's check this out. Let's move into quick hits right now. So first one, I think this was before 4th of July. It was said, or it was reported by Jeff Risden, said you will not see other wide receivers brought in. Talking about Detroit, and I believe this was from. I don't think this was from him. I think it was someone. I can't remember if it was actually Brad Holmes or Dan Campbell or who it was, but quoted saying you will not see other wide receivers brought in. Agents have asked, but Detroit is answering they are not interested in bringing in any receivers at this point. Is that a mistake or not?
I I think it's a mistake to close the door like that. I don't think you should ever say we're not accepting talent. We're not open to bringing in talent
Yeah.
because you know the wide receiver room, as good as it could be with Amon Ra, we know what he is, and Jamison Williams, hopefully a budding star, and then the complementary pieces like Khalif Raymond and some of those other guys. It's just
Still question marks.
we still need somebody to replace the production of Josh Reynolds, and we don't know who that's going to be yet. So I think this gives me, it's good and bad for me, because bad is, like I said, you don't want to shut the door on bringing in talent, but good because that means that there's confidence in what they have and they like what they've seen so far in the early going of OTAs and training camp and that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. It's confidence, which is good, but it's also arrogance, which is annoying to me. There's always a little bit of arrogance that goes into a championship team, which is great. But when you're in the off season and you're between OTAs and training camp, for you to close the door on any receivers, and they could just be saying this, if Justin Jefferson all of a sudden got caught, I'm not saying he ever would, but I'm just saying if something crazy happened where somebody was available, they would bring him in. Let's be honest. But yeah, I think there's maybe a little bit too much arrogance here for me on this one.
That just means to me that either like they like what they have or they don't like what's on the market right now. There might not be anyone worth bringing in
Right.
their eyes
Right.
right
And that's
now.
and that's kind of what I'm saying. It's possible that, the right person was available, it would happen, but yeah, like you're saying, like if we go down the list of free agents or availability, we're not interested in any of them. We're not bringing them in. That's probably what's going on there, I
Yeah.
would think.
Yeah.
So,
Well, enough of the receiver talk. We'll jump to defense.
for now.
Yeah, Jeremy Reisman came in and was talking about the defense, and he said that they he sorry he feels as though they people haven't closed the door on Emmanuel Mosley yet.
Mm-hmm.
He was quoted, Jeremy was, as saying, "I certainly know that the people in the building are not counting out Emmanuel Mosley." That to me is a bit not surprising that they're not counting him out, but surprising to have such confidence in a player that hasn't played much. I guess should do you see him having a spot on this team after something like that coming out? I guess.
Let me I'll answer that kind of a long way around. Let me reflect first on kind of the timeline of Emmanuel Mosley real quick. I just want to kind of say what I think is happening here. Um, Prior to the draft, we gave him a 1 year deal, and we knew he was going to be hurt into the season. We knew that. Um, then we had the draft, and things changed. We had free agency and the draft, and things changed. Um, I see two things happening here, and this goes against the arrogance that I was talking about before. But I see people in camp that are probably, uh, you know, playing to his ego a little bit. They don't want him to give up on himself. You want to say the right things. The dude's rehabbing. You want to make sure that, regardless if it's in Detroit or somewhere else, you want to make sure that the dude has the confidence to move forward in his career. So they're doing the right thing there. I'm okay with that. I don't think he has a spot on this team. I think the injuries that he sustained, regardless of how he was 2 years ago, I think the injuries he sustained, it's going to be really hard to come back as a defensive back and not lose a step or two.
Well, I think realistically, what we're looking at here is he's going to be on the team regardless to start the year because he's going to be put on IR anyway.
Yeah.
There's no way he's going to be playing before their bye week early in the season. There, I doubt that's going to happen. I doubt we might not even see him until like the second half of the season,
hmm
possibly. But so he's not going to be taking up a roster spot. He'll be landing on IR.
Let me ask you real quick. I'm not trying to cut off your answer. I'm building into your answer actually. Do you like what you're saying? Do you see them not rushing? They didn't rush him back, but do you see them bringing him back as early as they did last year? Or are they going to be even slower this year because of even if he was ready in the same game,
Well, that all depends on how the players on the field are
what they
playing.
need? Yeah.
If they're
Okay.
having just outstanding play from Carlton Davis and Terry and Arnold, Brian Branch, Meek
Why? Yeah.
Robertson, and
Why?
you got Ennis Rakestraw. I mean, why rush him back? Give him
You
all the
got to
time he
miss
needs.
Anderson in there. He's going to be in there too.
and you know, just I don't see it happening anyway because of the track record that the Lions have on bringing people back from injury. They
hmm
always err on the side of caution rather than rushing someone back. We saw that with James Houston last year. And they've done it with other guys. Jameson Williams, they weren't rushing him back. Hendon Hooker, they didn't put him in at any point at the
Nope.
last stretch of that season when
They could
seeds were
have.
basically wrapped up and they could
hmm
have played him.
hmm
It wouldn't make sense for them to put him in until he's absolutely 100%
And,
ready to
and
go.
last year proved that we can do that and successfully do that.
hmm
So what's your answer? Does he have a spot on this team even late in the season?
I Tentatively, yes, because I think there's going to be a lot of things that happen regarding injury or people not playing up to par,
Okay.
and he is kind of that unknown. So if somebody's
Yep.
not playing well, they very well could find themselves on a practice squad or released, and then
hmm
he could jump in and take that spot. So
Okay.
I see him having some kind of role. I don't see it being a very big one though.
So I don't want to dwell too much on this, but I want to go a little bit further just to ask you this. Do you think so? Like, if Emmanuel Mosley comes back and he's at least 90% of what he was 2 years ago in San Francisco, okay, he comes back. Do you rate him even at 90% the person he was? Do you rate him over Amik Robertson
I think he fits. I don't know if I'd rate him over him. I think he would slide right into
in
that.
that area,
Yeah,
that
I
same
think he'd be
range?
fighting for the cornerback 3 spot.
Okay. So
Um,
is that going to be him, Amik, and possibly Rakestraw too in that three
he
range?
possibly. I don't think they. Just judging from the way they've talked about Rakestraw, I don't see him having a major impact this year. I think he's going to be a rotational guy. He's just going to learn because
Yeah, you may not see him much at
yeah,
all.
they're kind of grooming him to be a nickel corner.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like what they're doing with him, and they've got so many guys that can play that position right now that he's just going to sit back and learn a little bit, and he'll get some time on the field this year, but it's going to be in a rotation. It's
Is
not
it
going to be.
is it possible that we got him? I'm starting to just kind of see, like, Brad Holmes is a mastermind. I mean, the dude's a mastermind. Is it possible that, like, again, I'm guessing. This is crazy the way I have to guess because he's so crazy with his thought process ahead of schedule. Is it possible that we can't pay Kirby, so here comes Brian Branch, and then here comes Rakestraw?
No,
You don't see
I
that
I
as the
mean
thought
maybe
process?
that's part of the thought process, but they don't. I don't think he's looking that far ahead, or he may be looking that far ahead. I don't mean to say that. What I'm
He
trying
still
to
wants to
say
win a
is
damn Super
he's
Bowl this
focused
year.
on right
Yeah,
now,
yeah, I get you.
and if
I got
Kirby
you.
plays well, they've showed that they will pay their
Yeah,
guys
yeah, and that's a good
over
position to
anyone
pay.
else. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and the safety is not going to demand a lot of money necessarily. I know well, no,
Jesse
I'll
Bates.
scratch. No, not that. I'm going to scratch that because um, Antoine Winfield Jr. just signed the
Well, yeah.
richest contract that made him the highest paid DB in the NFL.
Which he could have been a Lion, but we'll get past that. But
We don't need him.
no, we don't. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Aiden Hutchinson, the dude. I love hearing from him. Honestly, he's one of the realest people I've ever seen on the Lions team as far as like what he says. Um, he was quoted as saying, "I feel like it's the year." They're talking about whether the Lions believe they can win the Super Bowl. He said, "I feel like it's the year with every fiber of my body. I feel like it's the year. Is it the year?"
I I think I feel the best about the Lions making and possibly winning a Super Bowl this year than I ever have, just because last year was not supposed to be the year for us, and it
Right.
very nearly was the year for us.
And we added pieces and we got
Yeah.
better in
I don't
spots.
think anyone would have expected us. Even I didn't expect us to be in the NFC Championship
Right.
game last year, and we just kind of steamrolled right in.
Yep.
So and you know whatever, keep driving the knife in, but we almost won that game too, and we were almost in the Super Bowl. So I don't see why we couldn't do the same this year. It's all gonna depend on guys playing the way that they need to play, the way some guys should have played last year and they weren't available or they
And
didn't
health
play
and
up.
yep. Hey,
Yeah,
that's what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of all inclusive of what you were saying.
yeah,
That
yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense. Okay. Yeah. I agree. I think if there ever was a stinking year for the Lions, this is the year. If there ever was one, I'm not saying that next year is not better, the year after that's not better, but if there ever was a preseason where you could say every fiber of my body, I feel like it's the year. It hasn't happened in my 35 years of life that I can say it with confidence as much as I can this year. So we'll see. A lot of people are saying the Lions win one or two or whatever in the next 5 years because of the pieces they got. So we'll see what happens. Damn it, I'd be happy with one. I'd be happy with one. But let's see where it goes from there. And they've got a young core, and I do believe with every fiber of my body that this is as close as I've ever felt. I guess.
Yep. So moving on from that, I mean, this is just a general question. The Lions' offense has been getting a lot of love, rightfully so, this offseason. Do you believe that the Lions have the best overall offense, position to position, in the NFL?
No,
Yeah.
they have
That
they.
who is above them for you
I
then?
mean, if you're going position to position, um, it sucks that we have to do this because the offensive line is number one easily. Uh, but I really think I would almost. I mean, there's a couple of them, but you're gonna hate me for this. But the Bears might be up there if they're healthy. The Bears have a serviceable offensive line. They have pretty awesome receivers on paper. We're going on paper because we haven't seen half these guys, right?
Hmm.
The Texans, they've got a really good receiving core. They've got a quarterback who pains me to say might be in the MVP race this year. Um, they've got a tight end that's solid. They've got their offensive line isn't amazing. Their running back, I guess, isn't great, but
They got Joe Mixon. Don't forget about
that's
that.
true. Never mind, I changed it. They are. I would say they are up there. And again, it's going to pain me more than any. I would say the Eagles are probably number one in my mind because I think even though you lost Kelsey on that line, that line was still really good
And
besides him.
they had his heir apparent ready to go
Right,
anyway.
right, but that's what I'm saying. Like around Kelsey, that offensive line was still good. That offensive line wasn't number one in the NFL just because of Kelsey.
No, Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata are crazy good, and they've
They've
got
got
Dickerson as well
Yep.
at the
They've
guards.
got Jalen Hurts. Everybody wants to hate on him, but he finds ways to win, whether he's on his feet or throwing the ball. They've got A.J. Brown, who might be top 3 wide receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. They've got Devontae Smith, who could be top 10 to 15. Their running back, who do they got? Saquon Barkley. I mean, if we're going position for position, it's the Eagles for me, number one.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not going to even entertain
He's going to say the Raiders.
No, I'm not even going to entertain the Bears being in that question because
On paper,
that's fine. But Caleb Williams has
is a
not.
boss.
Let's not crown him. He hasn't played
Lord
a
have
snap of
mercy.
football. Their offensive line is not serviceable. They have like one good tackle and maybe a good guard, and everyone else on that line is nothing to
Solid
me.
tight end.
Yeah, Cole Kmet's good. I'm not going to count out that tight end or wide receiver category because they're good there. But the quarterback is a rookie who hasn't
Running
played a
back?
snap of NFL football. The running back is a fluke of DeAndre Swift who had
I was waiting, man.
2 big games and was playing against, let's face it, probably the best offensive line in football last season.
All I heard was throw it to A.J. Brown, damn it.
Yeah, so
Fantasy football.
DeAndre Swift was a fluke, and who's he got behind him? Khalil Herbert. Like, honestly, I think the Bears would have been better off drafting a young running back and keeping Deontay Foreman.
They'd have been better off keeping Montgomery.
Deontay Foreman has been an absolute beast wherever he goes. He has big games every time.
Yep.
And what did they do but just spend a bunch of money on DeAndre Swift? And I hope it works out. No,
you don't.
Scratch that. I hope it doesn't work out for them because they just paid a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
And they do it. I don't know what their thought process is year to year on spending money, but it's ridiculous because they just spent like half or more of their cap space last year on 2 linebackers.
I don't know if it's the homer in me because Swift used to play for the Lions, but for some reason I can't get it out of my head that he's not good.
I don't hate,
or I can't get it. I can't get it out of my head that he is good.
It's not a hate for DeAndre Swift because he isn't on the Lions, because by all means that was a great move and it panned out for us great, and I wouldn't have been I probably, you can't look at that. We didn't know what Gibbs was going to be. We didn't know what Montgomery was necessarily going to be for us. So if we had kept DeAndre Swift and David Montgomery, I wasn't going to be upset.
And we probably would have been all right. We wouldn't be as well off as we are now with a top 5 running back in his rookie season. But
yeah, I don't know. I guess Bears fans, look forward to watching DeAndre Swift run out of bounds or get away from contact as quick as possible and sacrifice yards because that's what he is.
Yeah, he won't run between the tackles. That was the problem in Detroit with him. He just would not run between the tackles. It was go to the sideline and that's it. All right, so a little bit of a skip in our thing there, but I was saying that DeAndre Swift refuses to run between the tackles. He runs sideline to sideline, and that anyway. So I guess you need to answer this question still, though. Do you see them as the top offense in the NFL?
No, I would agree with you. I don't think they're the top. I think they're top 3. I think they're somewhere in there, but okay. I wouldn't put them in the top.
Who do you have as one?
I think you made a good point on the Eagles, and other than the offensive line, really, I could see the Niners being in there.
Okay.
Baltimore might have increased their wide receiver room.
That's
isn't
true.
Great, but they have Zay Flowers and they just got Derrick Henry.
Yep, that's true. That's true. Hopefully, Derrick Henry. Not hopefully, but yeah, for football's sake, hopefully Derrick Henry is back to the person he was prior to start of the season last year. He started really slow last year.
Yeah,
so.
And the Texans, like you said, are in there too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams that are jockeying for that top 5 area, but I think the Lions are top 3 somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, the nice thing is, unlike the NBA, it seems like, the teams that you named there are a good mixture of NFC and AFC. So it's not like all on Eastern or Western, like it seems like it always happens for the NBA. So that's helpful for us. All right, let's move to the. Is this the last one? Yeah, the last one we have here for our quick hits is PFF actually graded the Lions secondary at number 11 in the NFL. That is preseason grading. That is not based on anything last year. That is going into the or going into training camp is what they're rating them at. Do you agree with that? And that is really hard to answer. I know.
I think it's close. I think it's a little high for what I'm thinking. I think going in without seeing anything, I would say I'd put them somewhere in like the 15 to 17 range.
Yep. Okay.
And then they could jump from there depending on how pieces play out. But
Well, and that just makes sense based on what you said in prior, prior episodes. Is that you see them being ending at about middle of the pack for the pass game. So I disagree with this 11, and it's not that I have a number. It's just that I disagree with even making this ranking. I just this is such a random who do we have that was here last year realistically? I mean, we have our safeties, yeah, but if he was only partially in the season, uh, you know, Brian Branch is going to play different workload. It's a weird one to try to throw out there to
yeah.
me. Too early for that.
All
That's
right.
all.
Well, moving on.
All right, so the we're going to move into the main event, and the main event is brought to you by our sponsor, Empire Contractors. So before we get into the main event, let's check out a message from them.
This show is brought to you by Empire Contractors over here in Shelby, Michigan, on the west side of the state where we do our show, right along the lakeshore. Empire Contractors is a commercial roofing contractor who specializes in liquid applied roofing restoration. Check this out.
They can clean your existing roof, make some minor repairs, and apply a new thick coating system over your existing roof, avoiding expensive and nasty tear off, saving you about half the cost over other systems. Empire Contractors work the entire Great Lakes region.
Give them a call to see if your roof is a candidate. They can be reached at 231 861 7221 or by going to roofsbyempire.com. They are also on Facebook. All right, we are back from our short little break here. Jumping into the main event here.
Brennan drank a 6-pack in that amount of time.
I wish I could drink that much in that time. I don't think I would be able to. Anyway,
Jason Kelsey could teach you.
Yeah, moving into the main event. Our first and probably the biggest news coming out this week was the release of Netflix's documentary Receiver that followed how many, like 5 or 6 different guys in the NFL.
Yeah, I think it was 5 total. I think
5 guys in the NFL and
goated
at the receiver or tight end position, and none other than Amon-Ra St. Brown was featured, and he had a good amount of spotlight this week.
That show was goated. It's great.
I guess just you can. I haven't gotten a chance to dive in too deep on it, but I know you have. So, if you want to just give some quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much because I want you guys to see it if you haven't had a chance. I mean, obviously, it just came out this week, so I don't want to throw any spoilers out there. One thing I can say is one of the trending searches, according to Mike Payton, actually on X. Shout out Mike Payton. One of the the trending Google searches was Amon-Ra St. Brown's girlfriend. So if that gives you any insight into how that goes there on the show, but I also really like what they did. I've learned a lot of things. One thing that I learned is basically, the tight end out of San Francisco, none other than George Kittle, is a very weird person. Very, very weird person. And it was just cool. I mean, you guys probably, a lot of you have seen Quarterback. It was exactly the same thing, made by the same people, essentially. And, Peyton Manning was behind part of this, and you definitely should check it out. I just don't, I'm trying to stop myself because I don't want to give too many spoilers.
If you want to see Devontae Adams get pissed at his decision to join the Raiders, go ahead and watch because
it's really funny because, again, I don't want to give them too much, but you can see it from literally episode 2 on. It's building. They start at the beginning of the season, they just go from start season to end season, and you can just see the thought process. One I wish they would have done is AJ Brown, because the way that went down in Philly.
I don't even care to see I don't.
I'm just saying, like, I would have loved to have seen some of the behind the scenes
I
on what
wish
happened
they I
there.
wish they would have diversified and only picked one guy from the Niners to do. I don't
That's
think we needed to have Kittle and Debo
that's
in
just
there.
glazing. They're just riding like crazy on that one, and I think the reason they chose that was, again, I said this last week. I think uh, two reasons. First of all, George Kittle is a weird person, so it's good TV. He's a very weird person. Um, funny, but weird. And then and I think they looked at Debo Samuel's injury record and said we probably better get two people on this team.
Yeah, I would have rather watched Rasheed Rice, to be
that
honest.
that would have been cool if you
Yeah,
could have caught him
high
because he's
speed
running away.
chases. Yeah.
So
All right. So moving in next, we've got Tim Twentyman. You know, everybody knows him, Lions beat writer. Top rookies.
always writing good stuff.
He ranked a top 10 of the top rookies that the Lions will face in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just run down this list really quick, and we can give our thoughts afterwards.
Yeah.
Number one, he had Caleb Williams from the Bears, Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Cardinals, Rome Odunze for the Bears, J.J. McCarthy for the Vikings, Leatu Latu from the Colts, Byron Murphy from the Seahawks, Dallas Turner from the Vikings, Jared Verse from the Rams, Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jags, and Jordan Morgan for the Packers. I guess any thoughts, anyone you would add or anyone you would drop off that list?
Well, here's the thing. The first one, is my opinion, is going to be a bust in the NFL. He's overconfident, he's cocky, and it's not in a good way. He's just an idiot about it.
We'll just stop beating that drum because how many times have we said?
I know,
that?
but we're asking, like, the top rookies that they'll face. I mean, I guess the way I'm looking at it is I'll go down this list, just looking at this list here on my computer. Am I afraid of any of these? No. I don't think any of these guys, they'll be good. I don't think any of these guys, maybe Odunze, maybe one of those defensive guys like Latu or, Jared Verse, I could see having a good season, but I'm not afraid of these guys like teams should have been afraid of some of the Lions rookies last year. I'm just not. So,
Did refresh my memory just because I'm blanking. Did Daniil Hunter sign back with the Vikings, or where did he end up?
didn't he go to the Saints?
He ended up. I don't think he was back with the Vikings, but he ended up somewhere, and I can't remember. Texans.
Texas.
But
Wow.
yeah, so that makes me a little bit less scared of Jared Verse just because he doesn't have the complementary pieces. They did get a pair of outside linebacker guys to rush the edge with Van Ginkel from the
Mhm.
Miami Dolphins, and they
Mhm.
also got, I can't remember his name, but a budding star from the Texans. They essentially swapped kind of
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
But I just, he doesn't scare me. I think the one that scares me the most on here is Leatu Latu, just because if he's healthy, that guy is an absolute freak. And I had no idea going into the draft how good he was, but just watching the tape, and he could have been a top guy had his college career not been derailed by that neck injury.
So this might be here we go. Every week it seems like this might be a Zach super cold take. And this shows up on our TikTok by some of the blind ratings that I've done, blind rankings of NFL teams. I think the Colts are going to be with that one of those sneaky teams this year.
I don't think
the
that's a
Colts.
cold take. I've actually heard that a lot this
Really?
offseason. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
it, I think
I hadn't heard that, honestly. For real, I hadn't.
I think it all hinges really on the play of Anthony Richardson and whether he can stay healthy.
Have you seen pictures of that dude?
No, I mean he's probably
Holy
massive. He
dude.
was massive before.
Massive
Yeah.
Crazy.
The thing with them is they don't have Gardner Minshew to fall back on anymore.
That's true. But
So if he goes down, that
they'll live and die with Anthony Richardson.
that
And that's
season goes down.
see, that's the problem. Anthony Richardson, I can see, is already starting his career the same way, and hopefully he makes the changes the same way Lamar Jackson did. Like, they're going to want to, dude, you got to chill. You got to stay in the pocket a little more. Stop making everything just like trying to run and take hits. That's what Lamar Jackson did. That's what they had to get through his head, and the dude's now a two-time MVP.
Well, that's the
So-
problem with Anthony Richardson is they don't design him running like that. He does.
But that's what I'm saying. They got to
He's
tell him.
He's got to stop.
Yes.
If you
Lamar did the same
if
thing.
there's the open avenues, you run.
Yep.
If it's like a crucial situation where you have to, then you do. Otherwise, get rid of that ball, throw it away,
Yep.
fall down, and let
Way
someone
different.
land on you.
Way different than Florida versus LSU or whatever than it is his team versus anybody in the
Yeah.
NFL.
So I mean, the only other thing I'll say on this list is I am kind of surprised by the Jordan Morgan for the Packers. I'm assuming that's just a throw on at the
like
end
we
because
ran
we're gonna
out,
face
yeah,
him twice,
yeah.
and he's gonna be probably a starting offensive lineman. But I'm not scared of Jordan Morgan. I was absolutely surprised that they took him, and I think the only reason they took him is because everyone they wanted
Fleeced.
was taken
Yeah,
in front of them.
yeah,
So
yeah. That was still one of my favorite parts of the draft. We've gone in detail about that even more possibly than Caleb Williams. But anyways, I feel like you're right. I think they added that one on because it was like, okay, we got Vikings, two Vikings, we got two Bears, we got to get somebody the Packers for the NFC North. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. Lindsey Miller, Detroit Lion. She wrote something for the Detroit Lions off-season questions is what she named it. And the position group to watch is what she was looking for. And she asked a couple of the beat writers, and Tim Twentyman was one of them, and he said the defensive secondary. Danny Rogers, who I believe is a sideline reporter for the Detroit Lions, also said defensive secondary. The editor's pick, which would be Lindsey Miller, said wide receiver. What would you say? I mean, do you have a thought on what position group to watch
I
this
think
year?
both of those are great picks, the defensive secondary and the wide receiver. I think I'm more focused on the D line right now, though. I just want to see production opposite Hutchinson, and that production I hope feeds into Hutchinson, and we see him have a huge Nick Bosa esque year.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm gonna say on that is I want to see the D line is one I'm intrigued by and one that I want to see improve.
I might surprise you on this. I'm not gonna say I'm going to, but I might surprise you. Position group to watch in the offseason. D line would be great to watch. Defensive secondary would be great to watch. Wide receivers, but we know what we got in most of those. The kicker position. That's
Yeah,
the one I
that's a
want to
good one.
watch. I'm interested to see what happens there. I
It's not
really
the
can't wait.
sexiest pick, but with the turmoils we've had at that position,
It's just interesting to me.
yeah, and Jake Bates being in there makes it just so much more
It's
flashy.
just intriguing.
Just
Yeah.
because we've seen what he did
Yep.
with the Panthers, and we don't know consistency wise what he's gonna be, but we've
Right.
seen him at his highs.
Right, and that's the thing that that's what has me intrigued is we won't even know that when we go into the season. If we choose Jake Bates, we still don't know what we're getting in Jake Bates.
I think one more thing I'll add on. I know I wasn't going to expand too much, but the defensive line intrigues me just because of all the guys that we talk about. There's guys that we don't talk about that are in there that are. It's going to be interesting. We've still got Matthew Betts out of the
Kaminsky.
Canadian Football League that no one seems to be talking about, but he led the Canadian Football League in sacks last year, and I think he won like Defensive Player of the Year or something over
And
there.
it's surprising to me. Like I saw him in some OTAs pictures. He's a big body.
Yeah.
Like he's bigger than I thought he was.
Yeah.
His paws. Anyways, so but what I'm saying, I agree with you on that. And another one that I actually saw just got some flowers literally like yesterday, I think, in an X post. Like a lot of people are overlooking what Pascal can possibly do. Like nobody talks about Pascal.
I love Pascal.
Everybody is overlooking
Pascal
that one.
was having some of those games last year where he would just cut off like a 3-sack performance.
Yeah.
And he was hurt, which was part of his problem last season. But
they didn't use him much either, though. Not as much.
Well, no, because he was still coming back from that injury. I don't think they were.
We're back to them easing people in.
Yeah. And then guy that you probably don't want to talk about, but Broderick Martin is still hanging around there. What's he done in
I'm
year?
Good. I'm gonna throw this out there. I'm good after what I've seen him doing and the fact that he's literally saying that he's following the Aleem McNeil plan. Like I was pissed with that pick, but we don't have to say I'm upset about that anymore because I'm intrigued to see what he does.
And just like looking back at that, I don't know why anyone, even me and you, expected him to do anything on the field or have much because he played for Western Kentucky. That's not.
I can tell you why.
A great.
I can tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because we spent a third-round pick on him.
Well, that's
thing. Why.
This is the thing, though. This is what Brad Holmes does.
Now you're making me mad about him again.
But Brad that's what Brad Holmes does, and he just did it with Manu too. he takes these guys that probably would have been superstar first round pick kind of guys had they gotten into the type of programs that could have developed them into that player, but they just have all this raw athleticism and not the basic, you know, elements of playing football that they need to use that athleticism in
Yeah.
the correct way. So I mean, you if you saw a Broderick Martin sized guy on a Georgia football team, he very well could have came out and been a Jordan Davis or Jalen Carter type guy.
Yeah, and this, I mean, I don't know what the coaching is there, but that's the other difference. Is it sounded like he needed some coaching. His pads were too high when he came off the line.
That's
All
exactly
this
what I'm
stuff.
saying. When you
Yeah,
play at Western,
it makes a
when you're
difference.
playing at Western Kentucky, how many of those guys are the same size as a Broderick Martin? He probably could just overpower
Yeah.
guys and be standing up.
Yep. And that and even to build off of that, it's not just the coaches, but it's like you're saying, the people. He was probably the best one on that team, even with his flaws. So, iron sharpens iron. If he would have been on, like you're saying, a Georgia team, he's got other people on the line that he's playing against, offensive line, that he literally has to like up his game and learn more in the college level. So I feel what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So we'll move on to our last one here for our main event. We have Will Hill, Fox Sports. He said history shows that Goff is a good long shot bet for MVP this year. It's currently 35 to 1 odds for him to win MVP. And most quarterbacks around him are at a 15 to 1 odds or better.
So, are you a betting man?
Am I a betting man? I can never put the money down to bet. I can't stomach losing the money.
Yeah, I'm not either. But what he's saying here is the numbers make sense. Like, he's not saying he thinks Goff will be MVP. He's saying if you're going to throw money at something, like the odds of him are really, really favorable that you'll make money on this. If I had to put my money down, I would also put on Goff because I think he will be MVP. I really do. I think he is going to be the MVP of this season.
I just don't see it happening just because I don't think he's going to have the big performances that he needs to do it because of how good the run game is in Detroit.
I think we're gonna have him though, Brendan. I really do.
Well, I'm not saying that he's capable of having those games. I don't think he's going to need to because of how good the running backs are going to be. If you can get 150, 200 yards combined out of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs per game, that's going to be hard to stop.
That's going to live and die with that. It's so many things, man. This is why I love the offseason. People get so like, oh, the offseason is boring. I'm just like super excited. Like the things that go hand in hand here, okay? These 200-yard games that you're envisioning or hoping for, that lives and dies with the offensive line meshing and gelling, and we got new people on the offensive line. Like, there's just so much that ties into everything.
And
I just love
you
football,
at all
man.
worried about that? Because I'm not. I mean,
no, Zeitler is a freaking absolute stud.
We have what three for sure returners on that line. The
Ragnow, Glasgow,
yep,
and obviously Sewell.
Oh,
congratulations on the marriage, by the way.
We have 4 returners because you got the bookends, Decker and Sewell.
Yep.
You got the guard in Glasgow. You got the center in Ragnow. So the only question is, how is Zeitler going to, squeeze in there? I'm not at all concerned just because he's a Pro Bowl player. He's been good his entire career. I don't have any concerns with him other than, if injury were to come about. And even at that point, we have people that we can slide in and play in tough spots behind him.
July 13th, I'm going to throw this out there. If you are at all interested in offensive linemen or the offensive line in general, and you're a Lions fan, enjoy this season because Decker and Ragnow, this could be their last run. It's possible. I'm not saying that happens, but it's possible this could be the last season we see those guys there. It's possible.
I think
you can't say it's not.
I'm not saying it's not. I just don't see Ragnow. I think Ragnow still loves playing the game, and as long as they're winning and have a shot at doing something, I don't see him hanging it up. I think if
I'm only talking as far as him. I'm talking health.
Yeah, I know that's what I'm saying, but this season there was also those questions floating around, and they didn't really go that far.
You also don't know what you also don't know how bad things are. I'm not trying to downplay his injuries, but he came out and like made it sound like I'm fine, and it sounded like they were going to be cutting his foot off at one point in the
No,
season.
there
So
there was I think there was talk about him losing a toe. Did he
right.
lose a toe? I don't remember.
I don't know. If you were Ronnie Lott, you just have that finger cut off and you just go back out there essentially.
Whatever.
So
So we'll
that's
we kind
before
of got
your
off
time,
track there. So we'll
whippersnapper.
stop that conversation there, and we'll move into a bit of some fun talks here. We got that was random.
Yes, sir.
You want to kick it off? Go ahead.
Of course I do, because this is my homeboy. This is hopefully old Matthew Judon has been talking about, or has been sounding like he's going to be traded or moved from New England after he declined. No, New England declined to extend him. I apologize. Is it possible he could be a trade target to Detroit? What are your
You
thoughts
know,
on that?
New England has shown that they're in a rebuild and they're looking to move people out. And Judon is one of those aging guys who probably is going to give you a little bit of draft capital to recoup. And you can use that either to trade for other pieces or use
Mm-hmm.
it to pick. And I don't see why the Lions wouldn't be. I think he's a prime deadline candidate this year. And that's all gonna, and I'm gonna just keep beating this one, but
You just keep going.
it's going to depend on what the I knew you were gonna do that. It's all gonna depend on what
I saw you looking around.
the edge players do around him, and if or around the Lions. If the Lions edge players are not playing up to par, I very well could see a trade deadline move this year where Judon ends up on the Lions. Now, I wouldn't do anything for more than like I've said this. I don't think I would give up any more than a late day 2 or early day 3 this coming draft,
Mm.
and a late day 3 in the 2026 draft. I think anything other than that is crazy, and maybe you remove one of those picks and you package another D lineman that they want, like a Levi or a Kamish if you want.
He might be on the move. Yep, that might happen.
But I just don't. I think it's possible. Yes.
Here's what I have to say to the Judon thing. My Gliac King. Let's go, baby. Bring the GVSU player back home, baby. Let's go.
Let's get a Ferris player.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid again.
We can get a Ferris player instead. Let's make a trade with the Dolphins and get
That's not
Zach
happening.
Zeeler
The stuff
out
you're
there.
gonna have to give away for him is crazy.
Oh,
He's the one shining star that's ever played for that team, so that's not gonna happen. And I'm talking Ferris, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. We'll circle back to that.
Okay.
I got some other names.
What are you gonna say? You played for him or something? Or
I'm just saying, I don't know how many Grand Valley players I've seen in the last few years play in the NFL other than Matthew Judon. I've seen 3, 4, 5.
it doesn't matter, because Matthew Judon, the GVSU King, is coming to Detroit, baby. It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
We're gonna do it.
By the way, that's my foam finger, so
Yeah, but you got it while you were visiting me in college, bro.
yeah, okay. Anyway.
And I was in the stands because I was just a peon school person. I wasn't part of the team.
He was too busy taking bowling class.
It was golf, damn it. It doesn't make it any better, though.
Okay. Point number 2 here, right?
Yeah, let's go.
State of the Pistons.
Oh, yeah.
The Pistons made some moves free agency wise. This last week or two here, they brought back Tobias Harris. Tim Hardaway is on his way back to the state of Michigan, going to be playing for Detroit. They got Malik Beasley, and they re-signed Simone Fontecchio to a rather cheap deal, I think.
Thank goodness, man. I was waiting for that one forever.
And then the biggest news of all was Cade Cunningham reportedly agreeing to a 5-year max rookie extension.
The Pistons finally got their guy.
And yeah, he's I don't know. I guess your overall thoughts on their offseason and what you would grade it so far.
So, a couple things. First of all, formal apology. Trajan Langdon, I'm sorry. Because I didn't give you a chance, and I think you're doing very good. I will rescind that immediately if Jalen Duren is moved in this offseason. I will immediately rescind that. I think Stewart needs to go. That's another move that needs to be made. I think it's time for Stewart to go, and this is coming from someone who was a very large Stewart fan. I think Ivy would be a good trade piece. other than that, I think I would give it about a B plus, and that's really good for a team that won 14 games last year. I think I saw Woodward Sports. They were kind of just going back and forth. I think they put the over under just to get Flannel Sam all upset, basically. They put the over under at like 28 and a half wins. Um, I would say we still come under that, but I think we're going to be much improved next year. I'm thinking 25 to 28 wins we're gonna see this year, which is a good improvement for a 14 win team. You can't ask for a lot more in one season. So
I'm gonna say 30 to 32 wins this season.
Ooh.
But
He thinks we're bringing back like Derrick Rose and
no,
all these
I
other
don't
guys.
think they're gonna do anything other than that's still not gonna be a playoff spot, not even a play-in
No,
spot
no,
probably.
that's out of
But
the question this year.
I think some of the things they addressed are going to help with their shooting. Tim Hardaway is a good shooter.
Mhm.
Tobias Harris is no slum.
Malik
Malik
Beasley,
Beasley's a really good shooter.
Fontecchio.
Fontecchio is a good spacer too.
Mhm.
But I don't know. This is just a
Sasser's coming
season.
back, and he did well for his rookie season.
This is a season where you just kind of make some of those mid-tier signings and hope that
Do some
it
things.
does enough to repair the image of the Pistons in the league, and hopefully that'll help you draw in some bigger people next year.
Well, yeah, and here's my other thought process, and I think I've seen this before, so maybe I might be biased on my thoughts here, but I think I can see we're hoping, Tobias Harris has a good season or a good half of the season. Then you move him at the deadline for trade pick or for draft picks. You're hoping to get something here that sticks that's going to help your future. I think that's what they're doing with like Tim Hardaway and that kind of thing. So, um, do you have a grade for it or not really?
I don't know. I think it's.
It's got to be a good one if you're saying 30 to
I'm gonna give them a B minus. I think a B minus works there.
35. Okay. Okay.
But I'm not
So
gonna
we're
give them
close.
anything higher right now.
We're close.
I don't. Those guys are good pickups.
You're
But
you're not going to tell them what you were saying at the top of the show
what?
that you would have given them an A if we would have drafted Bronny.
Did not say that at the top of the show. Brian, I will say,
Boss Brendan.
I will say that I'm not gonna say impressed, but I think Bronny's been doing rather okay during summer league. He's not putting up the points, but he is really good at on the defensive side of the ball. He is really good.
I actually think Connect is showing up too.
Well, Connect's a first round pick. He should be showing up. I
I
hope he
know.
is.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I wish we
but
would have had him. But
I just don't. Bronny could be good. I just don't think he had enough development, and he's going to need some G League time to get that extra year or whatever of college development that he missed.
yeah. I will say this about Bronny. So like I don't think he should have been drafted. I think he should have stayed in college another year. That's what I'm saying. I think he should have waited another year. And I think like you're saying, he could be good. It's possible. He's not right now. He's not good. He's not. But I think the heart attack or whatever they're calling it, cardiac arrest that he had set him back. I think he was afraid to come back out a little bit. There's a little bit of like, what if this happens again, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to dwell too much on it, but I'm just saying it's possible that it clicks for him. We'll see.
All right. Well, then let's stay on another Detroit team while we're talking about other teams, and we already alluded to this at the front of the show, but we have a lot of fans have been talking about the possibility of the Tigers trading away their ace pitcher Tarik Skubal, moving him at the deadline. I guess he's a Cy Young hopeful right now, and he's been playing really well this season.
Mhm.
He's pretty much one of the only bright spots for the Tigers this season. Um, what are your thoughts? Do you think they should trade him? Do you think they should hold on to him?
Do you know what would make me even more mad than if the Pistons moved Jalen Duren?
As if they traded Tarik Skubal.
Yes, because listen, and I'm the one who posted this. I can sit behind the Lions basement banter X name, and you guys don't know which one of us it is. I'm taking credit for this. If you are a fan of the Detroit Tigers and you are pissing and moaning because this team sucks and you want to trade Scooble, you're not a good Tigers fan. That is the dumbest take that I have heard in a long time. That is just absolutely backwards asinine to me. Like, oh my gosh, we suck so bad. So let's trade our best guy. what are you really going to get out of him? Like, you're not going to get that much. You build around a guy like this. What did we do with Verlander? We built around him, and then what did we do? We were going to the World Series. Like, you take somebody this good, and yes, you know, it's the bats. That's the problem we have. I get that. Besides one pitcher that I won't name his name. Anyways.
Kenta Maeda.
You'll name his name. Anyways, so what I'm saying is, if you want a couple other pieces that you want to move, that's fine. Do not move Skubal. The dude is the only shining person, the only bright spot on this team this season, and you can't tell me otherwise. Everybody else on this team is absolutely tradable or even cuttable at this point. Skubal should not be moved, and he should not even be shopped, in my opinion.
No, I think they have. I don't think I should. That I'm going to just echo you. I don't think they should move him, for the same reason. If you, how many years now have the Tigers been in a rebuild or
All of
some
them.
kind of retooling process as well?
All of them.
All that does is put you back to step one. Like,
Yeah, what are you going to
What do
fall
you-
on? Torque?
well, no. What are you going to do? What are you going to trade him away, and what are you going to get in return? Most likely, a washed-up player, maybe some prospects.
So here's the
What
thing.
have we done with prospects in
Thank
the
you.
past?
Thank you.
We do not have the propensity for developing talent. It's just not there. So we need to rely on the guys that we do have, and then make signings and trades on guys that have already proven, and then we start developing prospects, and hopefully someone comes up and plays well. I mean, it's crazy to me to look at what's happening with other teams and the guys they've managed to develop, and it's happening right now in Pittsburgh with their pitching room. They got that Paul Skeens or
yep.
whatever it is.
Yep.
He's having an incredible run as a rookie, and why haven't we had that is the question. Why are we continuing to strike out on guys like Casey Mize?
He's just trying to get a
Spencer
like from
Torkelson?
Livy Dunn, by the way.
I don't care about Livy Dunn. Yeah,
Anyways,
whatever.
keep going.
I just don't. I don't see.
There's no logic in it.
The logic.
There's no logic.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and I agree. And I'll even go one step farther, because we're talking about what have we done with prospects, right? We've been horrible with talent scouting and prospects the last however many years. Okay. People are saying, well, let's trade Skubal for, two proven MLB players. What is Javi Baez doing on the Tigers team? How are we doing with that? Because he was a proven player before he came to Detroit, and he sucks.
He was a proven player, but he did have the struggles on the bats still.
He
He's
sucks.
A very good defensive player.
He's not anymore.
He used to be.
But that's what I'm saying. You know what you have in Skubal. You know what you have. Why would you roll the dice? You got one good player. You got 2 more years on his contract, I believe. Stick with him.
All right. We'll move on from that. You're getting a little heated.
I demand
Just
it.
kidding. The last thing we're going to talk about on our show, I said we were going to get into a little bit of pop culture, and
for my last trick,
it's Detroit related. We've got the legend of Detroit, Eminem, releasing his new album this week, The Death of Slim Shady, The Coup de Grace.
And for my last trick, I love that song, dude.
Thoughts,
that song.
Have
Houdini.
you listened to the whole thing?
Yes.
All the way through?
Yes.
Okay. Thoughts? Any songs that stood out to you?
Fuel is dope. I really liked Fuel. That was a good song. Houdini's good. Toby was not great. I don't love that song.
I actually like Toby, and people were hating
boring
on
to me.
It's boring, but I thought it was hilarious. I think it's just because of the callback to a Spider-Man movie. I think it's hilarious with the Tobey Maguire got bit by a spider, and then he's talking about him.
But
getting
me, it was
bit
a goat.
By a goat.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
It's hilarious.
So solid. But here's the thing. Overall, I gotta just say, and you guys know this, I'm not saying anything, anybody who's ever heard an Eminem song, I don't even care if you're like, I don't like the swears, or I don't like, whatever. If you listen to his lyrics, he is an absolute genius. He is a lyrical genius, and at 51 freaking years old, he put out this album, and he still has it. The stuff that he has in this thing, I can't even give you examples, but just the stuff that he says is absolutely crazy.
Here's one that I want to say. One of my favorite songs was Lucifer, just because of the line in one of his verses where he said, "We squashed the beef like a hamburger patty, or should I say, gigantic turd." because I put that shit to bed like Amber Heard at a mattress firm.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can be upset about the things he says, or he's controversial, but you cannot argue the fact that he's a lyrical genius. All right, I mean, you go. I can't even remember what one it was, but he literally is talking. He's going back to like his days before and how he struggled because his first album flopped completely. And he's going back to that, and he literally says something like, as soon as I stopped giving an F, I started to celibate. Oh, dude, that's nuts. Like those lyrics. I mean, I'm get like, oh, dude,
Yeah,
he comes up with
you can
such
always
awesome
say what
stuff.
you want about Eminem and the quality of his music. If you don't like it, it's whatever. But you cannot deny the lyrical genius that
No,
he
you
has,
cannot.
and it's one of the things that has kept him so consistent. It's just there are a lot of these other rappers these days just don't have the lyrical genius to produce songs like that because
So
he
they
can
do
take
flash and
something.
flare to
Yeah,
cover it.
he
Yeah,
can take something that maybe wouldn't be a hit for other people, but he just makes it a hit because the lyrics he has are so intelligent and timely and funny
yeah.
that you can't compete. I don't see other rappers like I don't even want to name. Can't even name any because I hate listening to all of the mumbling and I
Yeah,
most of the rappers today I don't like anymore. I still listen. I like the old school guys. I like
he's like
the
a big like Takashi 6ix9ine fan.
no. I listened to a few of his songs that were good, but I won't listen to
Nah,
him. I don't know. I like an Eminem. I like a
Lamar, Kendrick
Kendrick
Lamar.
Lamar's all right. He's good. I'm not gonna say he's a bad rapper. I don't like. I'm not. His music isn't my favorite. I like
Okay, so you're a Drake fan.
no. I like intelligent lyrics, which is why I like him, and I like a Childish Gambino is
Yep.
another good
Okay,
one.
that's a good one. Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it at
R-
that. But
R.I.P. Juice World. He was pretty good too. He
I
was on.
like a little bit of Lil Dicky. I do like
No,
Lil Dicky.
hold
Lil
on. Time
Dicky's
out.
hilarious.
Time out. No truer words by Brendan Samuels were ever spoken. He likes a little Dicky. No truer words were ever spoken. I think we should move on from this. Eminem, what up, though? You still spitting fire. I love the fact that at the beginning of the very start of this album, he literally starts spitting. Like I was like, oh no, here we go. Here's how did he like put in a hawk
Hot
twa
tour,
girl?
hot tour.
Yeah, how did he put that in already?
Yeah.
But that's literally how he starts it. Doesn't have anything to do with that, but
Well,
he
he's
starts
spitting on a
spitting
grave.
immediately.
You can see it
Yep,
on
yep.
he posted something, but it was him spitting on a grave.
But
Slim
then
Shady.
it's just funny because I'm listening to it in my truck, and I know I said we move on, but it's just funny. I'm listening to it in my truck. I hear that at the beginning of the album, and then he starts going. And I'm like, dude, Eminem is still spitting, and then I'm like, he started his album spitting,
Well,
so it was awesome.
the last part of this thing that I want to I'm curious about, and this is just pop culture stuff, not relating to the Lions, of course, but I just think my question is, and I read this a lot in the album's description, is they call it the death of Slim Shady, the coup
Is
de
he
grace.
done?
No, it's not. Is he done? It's his music has always relied heavily on this like battle between himself and this internal voice, which is Slim Shady.
Yep.
If he's putting that to bed, I guess where does the music go from here? What does he do now?
I
Because it's
think
just Marshall. It's not
Yeah, but
Slim
I
Shady.
think he did all right because you look. I think it started. Well, maybe not started, but he had the Marshall Mathers LP too. He had like rehab, relapse, all that stuff. I think that was kind of his way of like being Marshall Mathers, not Slim Shady. And the rehab and relapse was to like basically um him going in and not being the schizophrenic person or persona anymore.
Yeah, I
And then it
think
came back.
the
So
other thing I was talking about with him was I think it was cool how he had the rap, but he also had some kind of nice deep cuts too on there. I don't remember which one it was. I can't remember the title, but at near the end of the album, he does one where it's a female feature. I don't know who she is, but she sings a majority
ooh,
of the
female
song,
features.
and then he comes in and raps, and it's basically it feels like it's a like something that he's making for his daughter Haley to play when he's not around anymore, which
Okay.
is it was just cool. It was like an emotional thing that you don't often see from his music. I mean, I know he references Haley and he talks about it a lot, and there are some songs that are a little bit more emotional, but this one felt a little bit deeper. I don't
I
know.
mean, you start. I mean, he's 51. She's a grown woman at this point, and you know, I can see that. That's a smart way to go. I mean, he might have 10 more albums in him. Probably he might. This could be the last one. You never know, and that's solid. I like that. Yeah, I don't know that I reflected that much on that one. I've only listened to the whole thing one time through, and then I saw like Fuel. I hit a couple times. Houdini obviously was out before the album dropped, so I've listened to that 1,000 times. Plus your Fortnite emote that you do constantly.
And don't act
Uh,
like he plays Fortnite too. Don't let him pass it off like I'm the only one
oh,
playing
solid,
Fortnite
dude.
over
You
here.
guys can Prozac 30, capital P, capital Z. Look me up.
Yeah, don't look him up. You don't want to know his kill death ratio. It's not pretty.
It's like 10.
How many wins do you have?
It's like 10 deaths to kills.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a lot of wins because Brendan and I play together a lot, and he's a freaking sweat.
I'm not that good.
You are a sweat.
But anyway, I digress. Let's move on. That is the end of our show today. We've reached the
Our closing,
the
our
last minutes
conclusion.
of this show. So I don't have much else to say other than, thanks for sticking with us while we took a little bit of a break to refresh, and hopefully we'll have some cool stuff happening to our set in the coming months, coming weeks, whatever it is. It depends
Hmm.
on how much time we get to dedicate to it, but we have some plans to spice things up and make it look a little bit different and hopefully add some more fun elements.
For sure.
Zach has been adding some posts to our TikTok, so feel free to look us up there. We'll hopefully be posting more content there, maybe some YouTube shorts. Follow, like, and subscribe our channel there. Other than that, all I have to say is go Lions. You have anything else?
I'll throw out the Go Lions baby in a second, but I just wanted to throw this out. I'm going to change something up. First of all, we are still on Buy Me a Coffee. If you guys like the show, you want to help us with the changes we're talking about, that's a donation. We would love that. You can find us at Lions Banter. It's also been on the ticker down below this whole time, going through. Of course, if you're someone who doesn't want to donate, but you want something for the money that you earned, which makes sense, we also have a shop. You can check that out. It's an ever changing thing. I'm constantly going through and coming up with new ideas, and we're building stuff on that. So the last thing I want to point out is on the ticker below, we have had for the last, I think, forever, we've been saying that we're going to give this out. It's a JMO card for 300 subs on YouTube. Brennan brought to my attention, which is a good thing. He brought to my attention that maybe that not everybody collects cards, so that doesn't make sense. So screw it. 300 subs, I'm buying one random person a jersey. 300 subs on YouTube. So as soon as we get there, we're going to buy one lucky winner that is a subscriber on YouTube, a jersey from NFL Shop, any Lions jersey that you want, or I guess any NFL jersey. If you're seeing this and you're a fan of another team, it'll pain me to buy certain ones, but I will get that for you. 300 subs on YouTube, and we'll make it happen for one lucky winner. So
If you request that we buy you a Caleb Williams jersey, we will have it shipped here and we will burn it on camera.
And then we will say your name because you follow us. But that's another thing I want to point out real quick before we close. We have one idea that we're going to be doing pretty soon. It'll be prior to the beginning of the season. And this kind of came actually with the death of Slim Shady, kind of ties in the thought process. We will be burying the same old Lions here on set at some point prior to the season, and it's going to be just kind of a funny thing. So be sure you tune in. Be sure you follow us on all social media, Lions Banter, pretty much anywhere, and subscribe on YouTube, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, go Lions.
Go Lions, baby.